What's up? What's up? What's up, you guys? We are back with another video. My name is Dyneta, and thank you for joining into Truth TV Podcast. Greetings to all of my truth seekers and truth tellers out there. I told you guys I am in recovery from narcissistic and domestic abuse. I started this channel as a healing journey for myself, and I invite you guys to take this journey with me. As always, if you guys have any questions, comments, or if you want to talk about specific topics, please feel free to email me at truth.tvpodcast@gmail. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us at truth_TV podcast. All of the topics that I talk about, I typically get from God. So whatever he has on the plate for that day, I typically talk about. So it's not like a set ruling of topics. I do my research. I listen to God first, and then I do my research. So that's how we come up with our topics. I've been talking heavily about friendships and toxicity and leaving certain friendships. I feel like in order to elevate, sometimes you have to disconnect yourself from people that no longer serve their purpose. Everything that I do in 2023, I made up in my mind that I want to be purposeful, and I want those that are in my circle to be purposeful as well. Not only for themselves, but for me. It has to be a give and take relationship situation. I am currently in a state of isolation. God has isolated me and separated me from a lot of people. And I definitely felt that it was necessary. Now, does it get lonely sometimes? Yes. Because on a typical day-to-day basis, if I'm not dealing with my clients or customers, I'm strictly just dealing with my kids. And sometimes that can be overwhelming. But I know God has a greater purpose for me. So I just try to keep that in mind. Like I said, when you are going in a different direction, or when God is elevating you, you have to separate yourself from, toxic people. Toxic people are draining. They constantly pull you down with the stuff that they have going on. They're always making things seem emergent that aren't emergent. So it's just important to be aware of your surroundings and who you're keeping yourself around. And definitely keeping your peace is very important. So I came up with 7 things that or 7 signs that you can tell that you're in a toxic friendship. Again, God gives me what to say, and I just kind of do my research and go from there. So I kind of compiled a list. So the first thing is that they want all of your attention. They try to convince you that you're the only one that knows them best. They text you, they call you with urgency, even when it's not. They tend to exaggerate crisis or life issues to gain your support. They insist that no one relates to them but you. They praise you about how wonderful and helpful you are, just to kind of get the things or the reaction out of you that they're looking for. Number 2, they make themselves the victim. Ever so often, toxic people always put the blame on other people. So they always try to play this victim role. Nothing ever goes right for them. They're always in a crisis, but they never take accountability to solve any issues. Sometimes it makes you feel helpless, or sometimes, it makes you feel helpless, needy, or, you get stressed out, you're frustrated, you're resentful, because as their friend, you're trying to solve their problem. Number 3 is they disrespect your boundaries. This is a big one. For me, I've set up a lot of walls and boundaries with people. When people call me with certain things that I used to jump before, I'm very hesitant to jump now, because my thing is, if we're going to keep going around in this circus, when are you going to realize that you have to do something different? And, like I've explained to you guys on the channel before, I wasn't always that best friend when I was going through my abuse and my own toxic situation. So I understand how people can feel that, if you're in a crisis, it's urgent, but what's urgent to you is not always urgent to the other person. They feel exempt from your boundaries, especially when they quote unquote need your support. It causes you to feel conflicted about setting boundaries. So sometimes you second guess boundaries with them because you know that they won't take your boundaries well. Number 4, they are jealous of you. They are jealous of you or your other friends. Now, this is a big one. I noticed that when I was hanging out with certain people, when I would mention other friends, they would turn their nose up or, say I didn't need to be friends with them for whatever reason. This results in insulting your friends. So, say if it's a circle of 3 people or 3 females or 3 guys or whatever, and the one female introduces you to the next, and that person automatically starts insulting your friend, and you're kind of, thrown off by that, like, well, what is going on here? Sometimes they tell you that you're better off without that friend, just hating and being jealous. They may go behind your back to lie or smear your name to other people just to damage your reputation. And like I said, that's a big one because it's definitely happened to me. I don't know why females, especially, they get upset when you introduce or bring another circle of friends around. It's like, I'm not just your friend. I have other friends that I have to tend to as well, but they always feel away. Number 5, you feel trapped or obligated to be their friend. That's when they use emotional abuse tactics to maintain the friendship, which is horrible to do. It's like I said, everything that a toxic person goes through is always dire. They make it seem like, that whatever they have going on is more important than what you have going on. They can make jokes or threats about hurting themselves or hurting someone else. They put you down often while saying you're overreacting. So it's kind of like that gaslighting manipulation thing. They act different towards you in private versus public. They blame shift to make it seem like you're the problem. And they test your loyalty and devotion to them often. They always have to say, well, if you love me type thing, you'll do this. Number 6 is feeling like you're in competition with them. I've talked about this before. I don't know what it is, but when people see me, men and women, they automatically want to be in competition with me. And I'm just being me. I'm very quiet. I'm very standoffish. In the past, I was kind of loud and, just, very boisterous. I still have that personality, but I've learned how to tone that down a lot, because everyone doesn't know how to handle that and they don't know how to handle me in that situation. So I'm a big observer. In any room I walk into, I observe everything. I read the room very well. I'm very good at reading people within 1 to 2 minutes. If they're for me, they're for me. If they're not, I will definitely move on. But just putting you down indirectly, or directly, when you obtain something that they want, when they feel like they're in competition with you, they always have to make little subtle jokes or, things like that to make it seem like it should have been them versus you. Number 7 is you feel completely drained. That means you're emotionally exhausted. You have feelings of nothing to give in the relationship. You feel burnt out. You spend too much time on them and keeping you away from other people and activities that you used to like. You know what I'm saying? When you feel completely drained in a friendship, it leaves you with nothing. You know how sometimes you get off the phone with people and sometimes you are just tired. You get a headache. You start having thoughts that you weren't having before. That's because this person is burning you out. And I told you guys on the channel before, I'm the first to admit that I was that person. I used to burn certain friends out, 2 people specifically, because I didn't know how to handle my own stuff. But once I started doing the healing work, once I started really heavily going back to therapy, I learned that you can't just dump your stuff onto everybody. Everybody has their own stuff going on. So solutions to ending toxic friendships, because at a point, not all friendships are going to last forever. We have hopes to be friends with people forever, but sometimes people's seasons are just over, and it's nothing you can do about it. It's not to say that you're better than anybody or, you just have a different outlook or a better outlook on life at the moment. So, sometimes it's hard to make to make them exit, but it's necessary in order for you to grow. So solutions to ending toxic relationships, you just simply say no. Saying no is one of the hardest things that I'm still struggling with. When certain people call me with certain things, I just get a sense of guilt. Like, I just feel bad if I'm not helping them. I feel like I'm not being a great friend by helping them. Now, granted, these are the same people that if I'm in a situation, they probably will never help me. But just me being the empathic person that I am and just my caring nature, I don't want to see anybody doing bad. But it's so important to say no, people, and say no without explanation. And saying no without explanation is important, because if you give somebody an explanation, that's going to give them an opportunity to come back in. That's going to give them an opportunity to give a rebuttal. And then you're just going to be in this vicious abuse cycle all over again. So saying no without explanation is very good. You don't owe anybody an explanation for whatever you do. What you do is what you do. Set stern boundaries and don't fold on them. So once you set a boundary, for instance, if I have somebody calling me all the time saying that they need a ride, say no and tell them, well, I can't do this for you anymore. They're still going to call, but keep saying no and keep setting that boundary and be stern and don't fold on it. The other thing you can do, solutions to ending toxic friendships, is go to therapy. Sometimes we have to talk to people who are unbiased. Like I said, other friends get burned out. Family members may get burned out about you talking about specific things. So it's important to go to therapy and do the work to see how someone who's unbiased can give you effective ways to communicate with toxic people. And the fourth thing I would say is just no contact, just cutting them off altogether. Now, sometimes, cutting people off, it can have you feeling guilty. It can have you feeling kind of remorseful. But if you know in your hearts of hearts that you have tried everything to be the better person and be a good friend, but they're just not getting it, sometimes no contact is the way to go. And that kind of goes hand in hand with no explanation. Sometimes you just have to cut people off without an explanation, because if you're constantly telling someone what they did wrong and they don't want to listen to it or adhere to what you have to say, then going no contact is the better thing to do. Because you don't want to keep being in a vicious cycle with people. And that's what people want you to do. They want you to be so emotionally invested in them that, you're not thinking about anything else. You're not thinking about anybody else. You stop doing what's important to you. And we just can't have that. You have to use discernment. I talk about that all the time on this channel. You have to ask God for discernment to show you who the people are that are for you. You don't want to be in situations that you can't get out of. And sometimes people will have you feeling like you're trapped, because you're so emotionally invested in what they have going on versus what you have going on. So just to sum it up, guys, 7 signs of toxic friends. They want all of your attention. That's number 1. Number 2, they make themselves the victim all the time. Number 3, they disrespect your boundaries. Number 4, they're jealous of your other friends or you. Number 5, you feel trapped or obligated to be their friend. Number 6, you feel like you're in competition with them. And number 7, you feel completely drained. Again, these are all little tips that I've came across, and I've experienced every single one of them. Again, I am in a period of isolation just to help heal myself. I've talked about on the channel how my divorce affected me, how I had to walk away from toxic family members, and it's definitely hard. I've been watching so many YouTube videos, but there are so many people out here that are dealing with the same thing. But we have to remember that, if it doesn't bring you peace, you have to walk away. It's sad and unfortunate that I am no longer in contact with my family, but they were never supportive. They were never giving me the support that I needed. I felt like I was always being there and being supportive. And even to my caretaker, it hurts me. And I do have some resentment there because, she's, you know, elder, and I would never want anything to happen and I'm not there. But at this point in time, I am choosing my peace. I am choosing to walk in the light that God has designed for me. And I know that I can't do that with constantly being put down or constantly, you know, being told that I can't do certain things or just being judged about every single thing that I do. So it's important to walk in your light. Truth tellers and truth seekers out there, keep walking in your light. Keep being the best version of yourself that you can be. You know, most of us have kids, so we have to keep ourselves up for our children. You know, we have to set good examples for them. And I hope that you guys will take this information and even maybe talk to your kids about it, because children go through things too, as far as friendships and relationships in school. So it's important to set that foundation early and let them know what a good friend looks like versus a bad friend. So I thank you guys for listening today. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me at truth.tvpodcast@gmail. I would love to hear from you guys. I still want people to come up on a panel. I know talking about abuse, narcissistic abuse and domestic abuse is not an easy thing to do, but we can definitely heal together. You know, there are many channels on YouTube that talk about the same topics that I talk about. And if, you know, if it wasn't important, we wouldn't be making these videos, because there are so many people hurting. All of these things, being in toxic friendships, relationships, they cause so many mental illnesses. They cause physical, you know, physical things that go on with your body. And I have experienced them all. So my main focus right now is getting the therapy and the help that I need to recover, because I don't want to be the same person that I was. I don't want to be angry at people for, you know, the things that they've done. I don't want them to take my zest and my zeal away because they weren't so good of a people. So like this video, thumbs up this video, comment and share, and let me know if you have any questions. Until next time, I will holler at you guys later. Peace.